This is going to be about silence. So I was reading an essay about a book entitled In Pursuit of Silence. Now, I'm a huge fan of silence. I appreciate it more every day. Silence is such a beautiful, even majestic thing. It allows you to hear all of the very quiet things that are happening in that silence, the way the night sky lets you see the stars. Silence is peaceful. I know it may also portend disaster, but on the whole, silence is calm. Silence permits you to think, and I like to think. I used to like to listen to music, and I still do, but not as much, because I prefer the sound, the resounding unsounding of silence. Silence is such a vast, almost boundless territory. And silence is also connected, I think, to privacy, something which is much discussed, especially as it relates to the internet and Google and Facebook and the government regarding the rights of an individual to privacy. You hear people talking about that, even as it vanishes, but you don't hear anyone discussing an individual's right to silence. I think one of the reasons I like libraries so much is that they are, by common consent, interior places where quiet is respected, where people might be reading and trying to think. The essay that I read made reference to a lady named Julia Barrett Rice. I had never heard of her. She was said to be a physician and a philanthropist, a mother of 6 who lived in a mansion overlooking the Hudson River. And the tugboats in the river below would blow their horns incessantly all day and all night, bothering her during the day and ruining her sleep at night. Mind you, we're talking about thousands of toots a day, every day. This was driving Julia Barrett Rice batty, and she decided she was going to do something about it. In 1906, she founded the Society for the Suppression of Unnecessary Noise. Think about it, an auditory activist. With the 6 kids and a husband and all those toots, her life was noisy. She began to protest and contact politicians from New York to Albany to Washington, and she ultimately convinced the city of New York to place restrictions on the blowing of horns and whistles by tugboats. I am against suppression in general, but when it comes to noise, and unnecessary noise at that, I would have to side with Julia Barrett Rice. The author of the essay laments the passing of the Society for the Suppression of Unnecessary Noise. He says we could use it now, especially when we consider what he thinks is the biggest noisemaker in the world, the automobile. I think that's crazy. There are so many things much noisier than a car. In fact, a car is a whisper-quiet device compared to all the power tools we have to take care of our precious lawns. I've devoted one of these to how little I like a lawn, and all the care it needs, and why I like even less, much, much less, all the noise that is generated when one is cut. And when you add up all the lawns on the street, it's a virtual pandemonium, the screaming and shrieking of the devils in hell. This is no exaggeration. If I'm out sitting on the front porch, it's impossible for me to read. It's so noisy. The lawnmower itself can be a veritable banshee, but that's nothing compared to the infernal sound that leaps into being when they fire up the old weed whacker. It always puts me in mind of the Texas Chainsaw Massacres. And then there's the leaf blower. Maybe we've got the weed whacker and the leaf blower blasting in some unholy combination, a very nasty duet. I have considered scoring a modern musical using these instruments. The lawnmower, several of them, each with its own noxious note, the edger, the trimmer, the electric hedge clippers, the weed whacker, the leaf blowers, and why not? the chainsaw, the chipper, the stump remover, and the snowblower. What a sound this orchestra could make. The solos, the full surging conclusion. I loathe the thought of it as much as I love the soothing ministrations of silence. Silence, the healer. Silence, the companion. Silence, the friend.